My final paper and project focus on the use of el Voseo in Guatemalan advertisements. Just a quick summary of what el Voseo is for those of you who don't know. It's a form of non-standard second-person informal address that's used to varying degrees in different countries in Latin America. You can see these degrees in the graphic on the left. And this project was inspired by a trip that I took to Guatemala 2 Februaries ago. When I was there, I saw on a lot of billboards the use of el Voseo, which was kind of jarring for me because I understood it from my Spanish classes in high school to be something that is not very widely used, especially in Central America. But apparently this was not the case. So I was really interested to understand how this super informal form of address is successfully used in advertising strategies by different companies in order to kind of understand maybe more about what the language in advertisements can tell us about identity or the interactions between people and companies. And I just included some pictures on this slide. On the right, there's a picture from an airport, and you can see that Vos is used on this sign, which is a clear indicator that that I had a misconception about its use, and that it's actually something that's widely used in many countries. This picture is from Nicaragua, so definitely not just used in the southern tip of South America, which is what I had learned in my Spanish class. And then on the bottom is a cartoon that has different people saying the words in English, "You know how much I love you," in 4 different expressions, which all mean the same thing, but are the result of regional variation or variation in how these people are interacting. So 2 of them use Vos, and of those 2, there are 2 different pronouns used to refer to the person that is Vos. But anyway, I just thought this was an interesting representation. So to get to the main part of this presentation, this is the theoretical background that I plan to use in my paper. So there are 2 subsets, linguistic anthropology and then theory that's specific to el Voseo. So to start off with the first subset, I'm planning to use Durante, but not from the same book that we read for this class. It's actually from another reader that he compiled, to which he wrote the introduction. And in this introduction, he explains that our understanding of grammar is not necessarily enough for us to understand how linguistic phenomena can mediate the creation of identity or identities and interactions between different people. And this was definitely very clear to me when I was in Guatemala and couldn't really understand how Vos was being used, even though I had a perfectly decent understanding of how you conjugate a verb in Vos or how it functions grammatically. So this theory seems really important to what I'm trying to get at. And the second one, Spatulnik, is an author who wrote an article that Durante included in that reader. And in this article, she looks at kind of the cross-linkage between language use and intertextuality in advertisements as they factor into the mediation of communities. So the theory that she presents and her ideas, both in and of themselves and because they're included in Durante's reader about linguistic anthropology, seem particularly relevant to my exploration. And the last one is Kielenfeld, which, as you guys probably remember, is the article about music. And I'm really interested in this because they kind of look at music as a dialectical object and explain that listenings are really composed both of this dialectical object, being the music itself, and the listener's kind of background experiences. And so what they kind of get at is that a listening, in this sense, is really only achievable in as much as the listener is able to engage with the extra musical reality. And so kind of drawing on this as an analogy to advertisements, I'm interested in seeing how a viewing of the advertisement itself is achievable with respect to the extra advertisement reality, and how the advertisement functions as a dialectical object that can be understood with regard to the individual's understanding of what Vos means or what other things in the advertisement mean. And then the theoretical background with regard to el Voseo just kind of looks at the first author, which is Weyers. He looks at the use of el Voseo in advertisements in Montevideo in South America, and how it's perceived by individuals of different ages. And then he provides some critical theory about advertisements, which, although they aren't anthropological, could still be useful to my analysis. And another article by him and another author, Canal, explored the different ways that el Voseo can be used. And that's evident on this first slide in the cartoon on the bottom. And the last one, ek, looks at the differences between different forms of Spanish, especially with regard to el Voseo. And so this, along with grammatical information, would probably be useful to help orient the reader, but I'm not really sure where to include it in the paper. Would it be better suited in this section where I'll be talking about theoretical background, or maybe more towards the beginning? That's one question that I have for you guys. And then just to go quickly over my sources, I'll be looking at advertisements of different origins. So the first one comes from Guatemala, and I'll play it right now.
Este es increíble. Pero no lo puedes usar para ir a la fiesta del sábado. Pero es mi regalo. Tampoco lo puedes usar para salir con tus amigos. Si quieres, úsalo en la casa. Y sí, le podemos bajar un poco al ruedo. Pero te vas a ver linda, nena. Suele pasar, pero Movistar es diferente. Si te regalamos algo, es para que lo disfrutes como quieras. Solo con Movistar, navegar, textear y hablar con tu saldo promocional. Movistar.
So this is an advertisement for a phone company, and they use Voseo in addressing the viewer himself or herself. So this was interesting to me because it's kind of communicating something, kind of a sense of familiarity or freedom. For those of you who speak Spanish, or rather for those of you who don't speak Spanish, this advertisement is about a girl who wants to wear this dress, and her parents are saying, no, you can only wear that at home, like it's not suitable to going out. And then the narrator comes in and says, with Movistar, you can do whatever you want, like browse the web, text, talk. So it's kind of creating this sense of like familiarity. The next kind of advertisement is one that was broadcast in Guatemala but was made in the U.S. It is an ad by the U.S. government discouraging immigration, and it uses el Voseo when it's kind of putting on an act of someone convincing the listener to come to America, and then there's an alarm that sounds, and they say, don't come without proper documentation. It's not worth your hassle. So it's kind of used to like display someone who would be trying to trick them to come, someone with whom they might be familiar. So I just thought that was interesting, and I haven't really thought about it enough in terms, or with regard to my theoretical lenses, but so these are the primary sources, and this is where I'm heading with them. My questions for you guys is what you think of the scope, what you think of the sources, and what you think of the theoretical lenses. So yeah, I hope to hear more about that in class.